Yes, there's the top 10 WWE intros, and hopefully now I'm joined on the line by Dave Cullen. Dave, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly clear.
Excellent, Dave. Very welcome along to Team Talk here this morning. Dave, we're going to chat about your new show, The Kick Out, which you're going to be starting here on Near FM. Do you want to tell all our listeners what it's about?
Well, basically, it's just a general talk show about professional wrestling, not just about WWE, and all the goings on there, but the whole aim of the show as well is to talk about professional wrestling from the local scene as well. Like, there's a lot of local wrestling promotions out there, like Over the Top Wrestling, Celtic Championship Wrestling, to name a few. So we want to try and talk out as much as possible as that to encourage maybe the local fan about what's out there here in Dublin and around Ireland, as well as tell them all about the local news and the likes of WWE and other promotions like in Japan or Lucha Underground and stuff like that. So we want to make it as broad but as local as possible, and so that's the aim of the show.
Super. So let's take things local then first before we start talking WWE and what everyone will probably be familiar with. So in the local scene, who would be the big names locally in wrestling?
Well, as I said, OTT and maybe Main Stage Wrestling and Celtic Championship Wrestling are the three big promotions. There's a lot of really good wrestlers coming in the local promotions. You have Luther Ward, who's the NLW champion. He wrestles most of the time through Over the Top Wrestling. Like, he's their champion at the moment, and he's a very good competitor. Like, you know, he's one of these very tough brawler types. Like, you know, but he has a bit of a Irish gypsy gimmick to him. Like, he has the boxer shorts and the boxing wraps around his hands. So it's a very cool gimmick that he has going. But yeah, to name a few, there's so many. Like, there's Keza Gleason, who wrestled as Martina in OTT. She's a very good female competitor as well, and she wrestles under a few gimmicks as well. So there's plenty out there. But it's cool as well because for the promotions, a lot of because it's an independent promotion, a lot of wrestlers from all over the world, certainly in the UK, would come over and compete and challenge the Irish wrestlers. So there's lots to look forward to when you go to the shows.
And are the shows all year round, or are they a particular time of the year would be a popular time for them to be on?
Well, there's plenty on, even next month. There's at least 3 shows, at least to my knowledge, that are on in June. There's an OTT event on this Saturday in Tivoli Theatre in Dublin. They call it Even Better Than Our Best. Their last promotion was Even Better Than Our Best, but they thought, let's go one better. Let's call ourselves Even Better Than Our Best.
Made it easy to make the posters there.
That's it, yeah. But they're really gone all out because they're putting all the a few popular independent wrestlers from around the world competing in this event, and there's two of their championships around the line, so it promises to be a pretty cool event.
Great, so that's one of them, and is there another 2 then in June?
There's Main Stage Wrestling. They're doing their next show in July 4th, which is the same day as our show. So we have a guest confirmed from Main Stage Wrestling who will be coming in to chat to us, just to tell more about the event. I think CCW's show is either the 18th or the 19th. I'm not 100% certain. That's in Cork.
Okay, so
they're based over in Cork. But again, we want to talk about even if it's in the likes there as well, because there could be people listening in, who might be keen on that stuff as well. So,
and the shows themselves are very exciting, aren't they? And they're a great entertainment for kids. They just get a real buzz out of them. And I think, you know what? I think if the dads were honest, they get a kick out as well. It's not just the kids. So the kids just an excuse to go along. And it is all about the entertainment and the show as much as it is about the wrestling, isn't it?
Of course, and like you say, it's for there's a huge part of it for the kids. There's something for everybody. The kids are really enthralled because they would probably think, this is really exciting, the big guy against the small guy and stuff like that. And then the guys would be probably more intrigued by the actual wrestling, or even see the comedy of it. Like, as I said, there's something for everybody. Like, that's what's intriguing to me about professional wrestling. Like, there's something for everybody.
And I was doing a bit of research last night on the history of wrestling, which was quite fascinating actually. Like, it started back in the 1830s in France. Was really when it really started, and there would have been a popular thing of the big giant wrestler and members of the public being given a chance to take him on and stuff like that. That was a big thing back then, and then it really came into prominence then in the 19th century, then in the USA and in the UK. And I suppose it was real modern times from around sort of 70s or 80s that it really started becoming very mainstream and sort of out there for everyone to see. And there's been lots of different changes in the names and stuff like that. Probably for myself, when my wrestling knowledge would have started back in the sort of 80s with it would have been the World of Sport, I think, was on one of the terrestrial channels here, and you would have had Big Daddy in that. You would have had Giant Haystacks, and they were the guys that are my first memory of wrestling, and it was when Giant Haystacks and Big Daddy had a row. It was like everyone had to watch. It was just fascinating, and. But then obviously now we've come into modern times, in particular with as it's known now as the WWE. But that had quite an interesting history as well, because there's a lot of name changes and amalgamations of different codes. Do you want to explain that to our listeners how that all came about?
Well, the reason they're originally called WWF, the World Wrestling Federation. The reason they had to change to WWE, this was in 2002, is because the charity WWF, the World Wildlife Fund, they basically sued WWE for the rights to the name, and eventually because of that they had to change the name to WWE. But they didn't mind so much at the time. Like, it didn't really seem to bother them too much, and if anything they made a nice gimmick out of it. It's like WWE, get the F out. So like, it was kind of a clever thing to do at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Very good.
But as I said, it's cool how the revolution of wrestling has continued. Like, even recently now, the WWE has announced that they're doing a brand extension. So basically what that means is usually all the storylines would go through all their shows. Whereas now, it was announced this week, there are two main shows, Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown being on Monday nights.
Yeah.
And Raw being on Monday night, and SmackDown, which will be moving to Tuesday nights. It's originally on Thursdays. They'll be doing separate rosters and separate championships exclusive to each roster. So it'll be very interesting to see how it comes out, because the roster is expanding, because we have a very good development brand called NXT, which has a lot of up-and-coming wrestlers coming through, and a few from Ireland as well. Like Becky Lynch came through from NXT, and she's now competing on Raw and SmackDown. And you have guys like Finn Balor, who was a champion in NXT, and he is teasing all the time on his Twitter account where he'll be going to Raw and SmackDown. So it'll be interesting to see how everything turns out there.
Very good. And in an Irish twist, a big Irish twist, obviously in WWE over the last while has been Sheamus. And he's gone from where, from what I understand, he would have been when he first arrived into the scene as a good guy, and he's very much a bad guy now, isn't he?
Well, he actually came in as a bad guy. He was actually being a bully to everyone. Like, when he won his first WWE championship, he was a bad guy, or a heel, as we like to say in wrestling terms. But he eventually became a good guy, and now when he came back from injury last year, and he came back as a bad guy now. And like, his gimmick, his appearance changes all the time. Like, he had like a very tall flat top, and now he has a massive mohawk, and he used to have braids in his beard. So, which is, even for me, I have a beard myself. I'm like, I don't know how he can manage that. That's kind of strange. It's probably going to hurt him doing that. So.
Very good. And like I remember seeing, I don't know what RT presenter it was, did a fly on the wall with him and followed him around for a day. It was on TV there a while ago. I remember I tuned into it, and the amount of training he does was quite phenomenal, watching him do it. So these guys are, like, when they say they're professional wrestlers, they are professional athletes. They are putting massive hours in.
Of course. Because it's not just like it's not just the physical aspect of it, like making sure you're as fit and as athletic as you can possibly be, but there's a lot of technique that goes into the moves. Like, because like, they train for years and years and years. Like, at this stage, like, the guys in the WWE, all the moves that they probably know is probably natural to them. It's just up to them now to make sure they're injury free and they can go as long as they can. Obviously, careers are not going to be long, but it does take a lot of professional time on your hands and a lot of dedication to work at it. But like, when we look at how successful the likes of Sheamus is, you see that it's not worth it. So he's a very good example of how all hard work and dedication to be a professional wrestler or a WWE superstar can pay off. Because now he's won multiple world championships and he's doing very well for himself. Yeah.
And you were talking about not very long careers, but I remember when I first chatted to you about wrestling here in off air and inside, and we were chatting about the fact that with WW as it was F, and we've got the F out of it now. So we had the Undertaker, who was my first memory of that particular sort of American wrestling, and he was my favourite, even though he's got this weird thing with the Undertaker and the fact that he is sort of a bad guy, or because of his persona, but yet everybody seems to love him because he is the bad guy. Do you know what I mean? So, but how many years now has he been wrestling?
He debuted in WWE in 1990, and he's still going today at 2016. Now, he's not wrestling full time anymore. He had a long-term shoulder injury in 2011, so he's competing maybe at least twice, 3 times a year now at this stage. Like he's getting on now, but when you see him in the ring, and you think, God, you wouldn't think that he's having all these problems, so. And every time you see him, especially nowadays, it's very captivating, because he's such a unique performer, especially for his size. Like he's almost 7 foot tall, and he can do things that someone half his size can do. It's amazing for him.
Yeah. And that was the thing about him, was that he was able to throw himself around, even though he's this big, huge. And he had a famous move. What was the move? It was the tombstone, wasn't it?
Yeah, where the tombstone pile driver, where he gets the guy upside down and he drops him on his head. and because it's called a tombstone, it's because it's very reminiscent of a tombstone, where it's like bang, he drops on the floor, and he pins him like he's a tombstone. It's very scary looking, but it's a cool move. He didn't invent it, but he made it famous. So I think a guy in Japan invented it, I think so.
Yeah, it's excellent. And one thing, my young lad is 11 now, and he's big into it, massive. I was chatting to him last night. He watched me doing the research last night and looking at videos, and of course he was sitting right beside me as it was all going on. And he's informing me. I'm getting a great education from him now last night, because he really filled me in. And he was like, give me all the new guys. Who's the big person? And then he mentioned Ric Flair. And I went, did you say Ric Flair? And he said, yeah. He said, is Ric Flair wrestling again? No, Daddy. He's like a manager now or something. Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, Ric Flair, Ric Flair has won more world heavyweight championships than anybody. He's won 16 world championships now. In his history, but he retires from full competition, I don't know, maybe at least 5 years ago now, and now he's managing his daughter. Well, he was managing his daughter. His daughter is now the current WWE Women's Champion, and she's doing extremely well for themselves. In fact, it's very interesting now, because the women in WWE are probably getting a huge amount of coverage nowadays, because the wrestling standards that they're reaching now is extremely high, and this is because of wrestlers like Becky Lynch as well. Becky Lynch is among all this group as well, and they're having all these fantastic matches, to the point where a few of them are actually headlining pay-per-views and events like Raw and SmackDown. So they're making a lot of history by having all these great events and really having all these awesome matches now. So
excellent.
A name for himself, and it includes Ric Flair's daughter.
Excellent. And listen, just 1 second, Dave. What I'm going to do is play the intro for your new show. We'll have a quick listen to it, right? And then we'll have a little chat about where you come up with the name, right? So, because I know, but I wanted the listeners to know. So just quickly, just going to play the promo for your new show. And what date is the new show starting again?
It's starting on June 4th, next Saturday at 11:30 a.m. and every Saturday after that.
Excellent. So, folks, just a quick listen, and then we'll get back straight to Dave in 1 second. Just here we go.
Oh my God! Oh, he kicked out! He kicked out! He kicked out!
Tune in to The Kickout, your weekly guide on everything about the world of pro wrestling. Covering all the latest news, results, previews, rumours and more from the global wrestling scene, as well as the local scene right here in Ireland. Join us on Saturday, June 4th at 11:30 a.m. on 90.3 Near FM.
I have to admit, Dave, I love that promo. It's great. It's really exciting. It'll make you definitely want to tune in. And actually, my little lad last night, when I told him that the show was going to be on, he said, "Oh, there's another thing I'm going to add to my." He has an iPad and he has Near FM on it, because he sometimes listens to my show when he's off. But he also he says he watches Soccer Saturday. He gets up at really mad hours on a Saturday morning and watches the football show. But he said, "Oh, that thing's on now, Dal, and tune into that." So I can see him now sitting on the couch with the iPad in the air, watching the soccer show, because he likes to do 3 things at once. I think it's in training for using those big computer screens when he gets older. So the kick out, why did you go with the kick out?
Well, the reason we called the kick out for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically in wrestling terms of when a wrestler gets out of a pinfall. So let's say when they're down for the count, it goes 1, 2, oh, he kicked out. So basically, it's a term of getting out of a pinfall, and we just thought we called it kick out because we want to make it as engaging as possible. Like as you heard the intro, it's very exciting. So we wanted to make it as give people's attention for it. And something like the kick out, like it's out there, it's there, it's in your face, it's telling you all the latest news. So it's just one of the first things that came to my head, and I thought, yeah, it sounds good, like the kick out. It rings a bell. So
excellent, that's fantastic. And the show itself, then you're obviously going to be hoping to get people from the Irish scene onto the show to give interviews and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Like we already have confirmed guests. We've confirmed this week that the Irish Viking Jerry Carcass will be joining us for our first show, and hopefully then in our second week the Ballymun Bruiser, who wrestled from CCW, will be joining us in our second show. We haven't confirmed anything else beyond that, but we're hoping to get as many people in as possible. And it's not just professional wrestlers like around Ireland, but also promoters and maybe even fans who just want to come in for a chat, or whoever we can find. There's room for everyone, and we just want to make sure we can engage as many people as possible and engage as many communities from the wrestling industry, not just the wrestlers, but the people involved in the behind the scenes as well.
And the Ballymun Bruiser, I love that. That's just a great name straight away. Sorry, when you said that, I was like, it's just catchy, rolled straight off the tongue there straight away. That's fantastic. From yourself, how long have you been interested in yourself?
Oh God, I've watched wrestling since as long as I can remember watching a TV. As I was saying before, I remember my first matches I was watching maybe when I was 6 years old. I remember seeing Psycho Sid on TV one day, and just like this big, massive guy just powerbombing everybody, and seeing guys like Diesel and Shawn Michaels and the 1-2-3 Kid, and I just thought this was awesome. And then eventually the guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mick Foley were coming through. So I grew up through WWE and eventually educated myself with the likes of WCW at the time and ECW at the time, who both are no longer around at the moment. But it was great coming up, and it just got bigger and bigger as I've grown up, and I've just got back into it more over the last few years because it's really becoming really engaging again, especially with the emergence of NXT and in WWE, where there's all these up and coming wrestlers and all these fantastic wrestlers who've trained all over the world, and it just makes it more engaging, more cutting edge again. So it's really exciting nowadays to be a wrestling fan.
And is there anything planned? Like, I know every once in a while they bring the big show over to Dublin to the likes of the Three Arena and stuff like that. Is there anything planned in that regard for wrestling fans?
I do know that the NXT, which is the development territory, but again, it's such a popular promotion now. It's as popular as WWE's main roster nowadays. They're coming into the Tree Arena, I think I couldn't tell you the date, I think it's June 8th. They're coming in to the Tree Arena, and they'll be having all the big stars from the NXT promotion. It includes Finn Balor, who's from County Bray. He's one of their biggest stars, and he has wrestled all over the world. He made a name for himself in Japan, where he spent most of his career until he came to NXT, and he was their champion. He lost it recently, unfortunately, because there's a lot of rumours that he could be going to the main roster very soon. Right. So hopefully he'll be around in Dublin maybe for that show, and there'll be other cool stars like Shinsuke Nakamura, Asuka, Bayley, to name a few.
So NXT is almost like WWE is like the Premiership, and NXT is like the Championship. So
that's exactly it. Actually, that's pretty much, that's basically the best way I could. That's exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Actually.
Just for explaining any of those lads out there who don't get it, just make sure they.
No, in football terms, if we combine football and wrestling terms, it's probably the best way to.
Yes, excellent. Well, listen, Dave, thank you very much for taking the call this morning here on Team Talk, and I'm really excited for your show. As my little fella's definitely going to be listening in, and I've written down those dates actually for those different things, because I might try and get him along to one of those shows. I know he'd be slightly excited if he got the opportunity to do that. And we wish you all the best of luck with the kick out here on your FM on Saturday mornings, and best of luck.
Thanks very much. Can I just say before I go, I just want to make a quick tribute to Pearl Cullen. She passed away last night. May she rest in peace. Thanks very much, Robbie, for that.
No problem, Dave. I may rest in peace. Okay. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thanks very
Cheers.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.